Today on Dr. Phil. 2 young children mysteriously die 3 months apart.
We've been accused of something that we didn't do.
The parents question.
If you weren't involved, then I would assume you'd want to know what happened here.
The evidence examined.
You have a child dead as a result of blunt force trauma to the head.
You said there were broken ribs.
I don't believe my child had any sort of abuse.
Are you convinced that it wasn't a reaction to vaccination?
No.
Now the conclusion.
Would you like to take a polygraph?
I just don't feel comfortable with someone hooking me up.
Would you like to take a polygraph? You need to figure out what's going on here.
I need your help. I really do.
Yesterday, we began to unravel a family drama full of serious accusations and adamant denials. In June 2010, 19-month-old Darby died, and the cause of death was listed as unknown. 3 months later, his 4-year-old sister, Kira, also died. Now, at the time of both of their deaths, the children were living with their mother, Julia, and her now husband, Cody. Now, Julia and Cody were interrogated about the deaths, but never arrested and never charged with any crime. However, that has not stopped Julia's ex, Tommy, and his mother, Cheryl, from declaring Julia and Cody, quote, baby killers. Here's what happened yesterday.
Julia and I were married for about 3 years. Julia took the kids back to Montana. She almost immediately moved in with a new boyfriend named Cody. My mom called me and said Darby just died. They did an autopsy. There was bruising on his head.
After Darby passed away, I got a phone call. Kira died.
I thought they were going to be arrested. And here we are, 4 years later. 2 little children have died, and these 2 people are still walking around.
I want Julia and Cody to spend the rest of their lives in jail, where they can't hurt another child.
You even created a Facebook page dedicated to exposing what you believe to be the truth. We murdered 2 children and got away with it.
That's right.
You said, I want to question them both with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Then why hasn't there been an arrest?
That's the big question.
Now, Julia and Cody adamantly deny the allegations. Now, they have never spoken out publicly until now.
When Darby passed, I got up early in the morning. His doorway was right by the bathroom. It was pretty white, bluish colored. I hollered for Julia.
He said, call 911. Darby's not breathing, in a loud, thunderous voice.
Pumped on his chest.
I remember getting to the hospital and being told that it was SIDS. 2.5 months after Darby passed away, Kira went to sleep and she just didn't wake up. God wouldn't do this to me twice. No way.
Julia and I were turned loose, never charged, free to go. That says you're innocent in my book.
My children did not have abusive type marks on their bodies.
We've been bullied and harassed on Facebook by Cheryl and Tommy.
They have called us murderers.
If there was one stitch of evidence saying that I hurt Kiki or that Julia hurt Kiki, we wouldn't even be here right now. We would be on death row. This is Missouri.
We're innocent, 100%.
Do you want to know how these deaths occurred?
Yeah, my
Not-
son did not get murdered. I know for sure my
How do you
daughter
know
did
that?
not. We were there. You guys were not there.
Kate
You've
was
been
there.
lied to.
You think the autopsy is part of some kind of a cover-up?
I know that there isn't one. I dressed her for the funeral. There was no surgical incisions to Kira's body.
There's several things wrong with the autopsy.
Yeah,
There are
typos.
little typos.
See, I'm more concerned about the brain injury than the color of her eyes in the autopsy.
Why they would, A, not do an autopsy, and B, then say they did? Why?
I just think it was a mistake. I think they failed to do the autopsy.
And then covered it by writing up a report. You believe that this is a direct result of these vaccination cocktails that they got 3 weeks earlier. And that as a result of her reaction to that, that's why she died.
Yes.
What are the odds that a child would die 3 weeks after vaccination as a result of the vaccine?
Most doctors probably wouldn't even ask about vaccines because it would be so remote.
So you say that is an infinitesimal risk.
A next step is to really explore things that are much more likely.
something's going on here, whether it's violation of the children or vaccinations or whatever it might be.
And now the story continues.
Now it's time to hear from Julia's father, Terry, who says his former son-in-law, Tommy, has a history of anger and violence, not his daughter.
Julia is my daughter. She was a great mother, kind and warm-hearted. She loved her children. Tommy was not a good husband. He had a mean streak in him, huge anger problems. One time, Tommy went into a fit of rage. They had a little tiny dog. The dog was in his way, and he kicked the dog, and the kids were just terrified. The next day, the dog is dead. What kind of person it would take to kick a dog so hard that it would kill it? Another time, Tommy hit Julia, reached over the top of Kira and Darby, then slugged Julia while she was on the couch. Slugged her in the face. The first word out of our little Kira's mouth was, "Daddy hit Mommy." I look back and see how much pain my daughter had to go through. She was scared for her life. I wish Tommy and Julia had never met.
Terry, thank you for being here today. Is there any theory under which Tommy is suspect in the death of these two children?
No, not at all.
So why is it that you felt like we needed to know what it is that you just said?
We need to understand to put everything into perspective and understand where my daughter was coming from, why she moved back and forth. Those are things that are a little kind of confusing.
Here's my point. It seems to me that if we're trying to figure out what happened with these children, whether he was a jerk or not a jerk, months before, years before, or whatever, is off point. It does explain why she left and why she was up there. So the big question remains, why and how did Darby and Kira die? We brought in one of the world's leading forensic pathologists to examine the autopsy reports and other documents. He's going to join us with his expert opinions when we come back. There were broken ribs. Could this have occurred during CPR?
Definitely are not due to cardiopulmonary resuscitation. This is a case that is highly suspicious.
And later,
I'm speechless.
It's shocking.
it is beyond shocking.
You weren't there.
Four-year-old Kira and 19-month-old Darby may be gone, but the mystery surrounding how they died in separate deaths just 3 months apart while in the care of their mother, Julia, has torn this family apart, as you can well imagine. There have been questions. And then when we talk about the autopsy that you say was not done, they noted some things that were significant that in terms of injuries to the children. Darby's autopsy conclusion, 6/27 of 2010, the pathologist stated, "It is my opinion that Darby Hodges died as a result of an undetermined cause and manner of death. The toddler has 2 left side rib fractures with histological changes inconsistent with them being from birth." Okay, so that was one thing that they observed, okay? And then there was a CPS report, 6/27/2010, likely that broken ribs and some bruising could have been caused by CPR. The additional bruising could have simply looked more severe due to postmortem. Okay, so that's what CPS said when they took a look at it. Now, broken ribs and bruising, that's not going to be caused by vaccination or allergic reaction or whatever, right?
No.
There's been some trauma to the child.
No. Darby was a wild little boy. That's what, you can't tell me that my child was abused. You could tell me he'd climb up on the couch and jump off 10 times a day and do it over and over again. He was just like Tommy.
I never had any broken bones before I was a wild child.
we brought in Dr. Cyril Wecht, considered to be one of the world's best forensic pathologists. Now, he has personally performed more than 18,000 autopsies and served as a consultant for another 40,000. Dr. Wecht has reviewed or been involved in nearly every high-profile investigation, including President John Kennedy, Elvis Presley, O.J. Simpson, John Benet Ramsey, just to name a few. Dr. Wecht has written many books, and his latest is Final Exams, True Crime Cases from Cyril Wecht. It's available at planetandrule.com and on amazon.com. Now, Dr. Wecht thoroughly examined Darby and Kira's autopsy reports, and he's joining us now via Polycom with his findings. Dr. Wecht, it's so good to talk to you again.
Hi, Dr. Phil. Thank you for inviting me to discuss this matter with you.
Well, let's start with Darby. You looked at everything. What did you come away with? What did you find?
Darby had multiple abrasions, scratch marks, contusions, bruises on various parts of his face and other parts of the body. There were many, more than a dozen. And then beneath the scalp, there were multiple hemorrhages. We call them subgaleal. The galea, G-A-L-E-A, is a tight fibrous membrane that overlies the top of the skull beneath the scalp. When you peel back the scalp in the performance of the autopsy, you find these hemorrhages, which are not visible externally. There were multiple galeal hemorrhages, and they were on different parts of the head. Those hemorrhages occur only from some kind of impact. It can be the head striking against something, or it may be the head being struck by something. The brain was markedly swollen. There was severe congestion, backup of blood, and edema, collection of fluid in the lungs. So this was a process then that had gone on for some minutes or so. Interestingly, there were some petechial hemorrhages found on the thymus and the surfaces of the lungs. We find these sometimes in cases of asphyxiation.
You said there were broken ribs. Could this
Yes.
have occurred during CPR?
No, Dr. Phil, there were fractures of ribs 7 and 8 on the left side. The pathologist did a good job, and there's a microscopic examination. The microscopic examination reveals various histological changes. Number one, they don't occur acutely. They take hours and days. And number two, they're not from birth because they would have all been resorbed. So what you have is clear evidence of traumatic fractures of the 7th and 8th ribs, and they definitely are not due to cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and they are not due to birth trauma of 19 months earlier. And when you have a child with multiple bruises and abrasions externally, and you have multiple subgaleal hemorrhages, these are from trauma. How the trauma occurred, I can't be sure. By the way, some are older and some are fresher. So this is not just something that occurred on one singular occasion. Somebody, the caregiver responsible for this child over a period of time, has to answer, how is it that a 19-month-old toddler sustained multiple injuries and bruises? There is an explanation that must be forthcoming here, and it is not present so far in the discussions that I have heard.
Okay.
This is a case that is highly suspicious.
I just wish that I was wrong. I wish he was wrong.
You're wrong.
Those children
You're wrong
suffered.
about the abuse, I'm telling you.
Do you want to know what happened? And later, have the police ever offered you an opportunity to take a polygraph?
They did at first, yeah.
And you both declined?
Yeah.
Would you like to take a polygraph? All right, let's move on to Kira. Cody's mother believes that no autopsy was ever done on this child at all because she prepared her in the funeral home. But let me hear what you think about Kira.
I have the autopsy report right in front of me, Dr. Phil, which your staff sent to me. It is ludicrous, inane. totally illogical for someone to say there was no autopsy. I will be gracious and kind and say I can understand that this lady did not appreciate the fact that there were incisions present beneath a full head of hair. And of course, that's what good embalmers do, so that when you visit the funeral home and see the individual lying there, then you are not aware that a bitemporal incision had been made and the scalp had been reflected forward and posteriorly. So there definitely was an autopsy. It was a good autopsy. It was a detailed autopsy. And there's no question about the cause of death with Kira. Kira died from a subdural hemorrhage. There was more than 2 ounces of blood in the right parietal portion overlying the brain. That comes from trauma, and trauma of a significant nature. It cannot be casual trauma. I read what was sent to me, and it was stated that she had fallen in the bathroom when the stepfather inadvertently picked up the towel, and according to the statement that he made, as given to me, the child fell on her buttocks, got up laughing, and went to her room. You do not get a subdural hemorrhage from falling on your buttocks. This child also had multiple contusions and abrasions on her face, on both sides, multiple subgaleal hemorrhages on both sides, also of varying ages. I will not repeat what I said about Darby, but obviously the comments apply to this case. You don't get those from a singular event. Each one represents a particular traumatic incident. So you have a child dead as a result of blunt force trauma. That's what we call it, blunt force trauma to the head. Someone has to explain how did that head injury occur. Did it occur? It can occur from an impact of the head by an instrumentality of some kind, or the head striking something else, but not a casual blow to produce that kind of subdural hemorrhage. This is a highly suspicious case, and there's no way in the world a vaccine produces a subdural hemorrhage. It does not produce bruises on different parts of the body or any part of the body. You have 2 deaths here occurring 82 days apart from each other of infants, which so far have not been fully explained. And by the way, I do want to say this, in fairness to the pathologist who did the autopsy on Kira. He made the statement with which I agree, and I will just read it, Phil, referring to his findings. This was a significant degree of trauma that appears disproportionate to a fall as described in the narrative.
Quickly, with regard to Kira, what do you make of the 2 lesions on the back of her left calf?
They are described as circular, one whitish with rolled edges. They are strongly suggestive of thermal injuries. And a circular configuration like that is highly suggestive of something like the burning end of a cigarette. I can't say that that's what it was, but that would fit in perfectly. To find a way in which you sustain thermal injuries to the back of your calf in some casual manner inadvertently defies my conjecture.
Dr. Wecht, as usual, you have been thorough and very educative for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So, what's y'all's reaction to Dr. Wecht? I mean, I use Dr. Wecht because I think he is the absolute best of the best.
You know, it's what we've been saying all along, and I just wish that I was wrong. I wish he was wrong.
You are wrong.
He's wrong.
You're wrong about the abuse. I'm telling you.
I'm not making an accusation here. I assume that you want to know what happened here.
Know.
If you weren't involved in it in any way, then I would assume you definitely want to know what happened here. You have the world's leading pathologist telling you that your daughter died from a subdural hemorrhage, that there was a hemorrhage to the brain that can only occur from a major blow to the head, that there are marks on both of the children that are inconsistent with any of the theories that you've been embracing with regard to SIDS or vaccination or ingesting vomitus. He said there's no question that there was a hemorrhage to the brain here. I'm curious as your reaction to this. You think there was no autopsy done. Well, here's a man that's consulted in over 40,000 of these, says this was done, and here's it was not only done but done well, and he concurs with everything that's going on there. Do you want to know what happened?
I want to know what happened.
You've heard Dr. Weck say this child died from blunt force trauma.
I don't believe my child had any sort of abuse. I don't know.
And later, Dr. Weck doesn't know you, he doesn't know you. He's opined in no way that you two are guilty of any wrongdoing, nor have I. They have, I have not. Closed captioning provided by...
I just want to clarify one thing. There was a fall Kira had 4 or 5 days before she passed that was in the bathtub.
Right.
Okay.
And then on carpet a second time.
And then, right. But I think those get confused.
Okay, well, he's still on satellite here. Dr. Weck, could this child have gotten this hemorrhage from slipping in the bathtub?
I do too. If the fall were from some distance with some force. But let me point out that the fall in the bathtub, correct me if I'm wrong, supposedly occurred about a week, at least 5 days before. At that time, the hemorrhage begins to become organized. There was no microscopic evidence of organization whatsoever. This was pure blood. There's no way that this subdural hemorrhage was 5 to 7 days old. No way.
I just wanted that clarified. I just wanted that to be clarified.
Oh, no, listen, I want your questions.
Yeah.
I want your questions, but I you know, this is, that's, I'm glad he was still on satellite. So, what do you think about this?
I'm just shocked. I know how we were. I'm speechless.
Well, I'm a little speechless because I have to say, as a parent, if I was getting information and new information and highly qualified pathologists such as Dr. Wecht here, that I would have an absolute hunger, thirst for knowledge about what was going on here. Yeah. You've heard from Dr. Harbison, who is a highly qualified pediatrician that has told you, forget vaccination, that's not a player here. You've heard her say SIDS is not a player here. You've heard Dr. Weck say this child died from blunt force trauma.
Well, call me dumb or whatever you want to say, but I don't believe my child had any sort of abuse. So I know if it was something that is blunt force trauma, there's something that I don't know.
You do know she's gone. And you have someone that's come in and examined her after the fact and said, here's why. We don't know how, we don't know who did it or what happened, but we do know what ended her life. Yeah. You found Darby in the crib unresponsive. And who found Kira?
We all did, all three of us.
I think you said somebody better go check on Kira. So you probably found her first.
So you know.
No.
You were
I've read it.
We were
I talked to
all
detectives
there.
all the
We
time.
were all there.
I
You won't
understand the
talk to the
antagonism
detectives.
between y'all, but I have to tell you, I'm really surprised that you're more interested in bickering with them than you are processing this information.
Because it's hard. It's hard because we have put these walls up for 4 years. God had us in the palm of his hand. That's just faith. That's all that we've lived off of is faith for 4 years, praying, knowing that the right person would come and that answers would be given to us. And that's it. That's all I can say is that.
Well, maybe these are answers that are being given to you right now. You understand, I don't have a horse in the race here between this side or this side. You understand what I'm saying? I have no vested interest in this. But and far be it from me to tell you I know how you feel, because if you haven't lost a child, you can't know. But I speculate that if I had spent 4 years telling myself my child died from a reaction to vaccination and found out, A, that's not even remotely possible, and B, there's clear evidence of blunt force trauma, that would be of great interest to me. Is that not of great interest to you?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's just, it's shocking.
It is beyond shocking. What did the police have to say about all of this? We're going to talk about that when we come back. Are you convinced that it wasn't a reaction to vaccination?
No. Okay, do whatever you want. This is not you guys. This is you weren't there.
Closed captioning provided by. Well, after reviewing the autopsy reports on 19-month and 4-year-old Kira, forensic pathologist Dr. Sarah Weck's conclusion was that both deaths were highly suspicious and the cases should be reinvestigated. We have a statement from the Montana Police Department in Kalispell. In regards to the Darby Hodges death investigation, this is an unsolved case that we are still looking into. As such, we are not at liberty to go into details and are not prepared to make a statement at this time. That's what they've had to say about that. Then from the Republic, Missouri Police Department, on September 17, 2010, the Republic Police Department began an investigation in the death of 4-year-old Kira. The case is still an active investigation and will remain as such until all leads have been exhausted. Due to the fact this investigation is still open, I am not at liberty to discuss or disclose any details involving the case. So these are not closed cases, and you want to know what happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we all do.
Are you convinced that it wasn't a reaction to vaccination?
No. Okay, do whatever you want. This is not you guys. This is you weren't there. You don't know.
You do understand that vaccinations could not explain the physical evidence on both of your children.
I don't know what to say. All I want is answers. That's it.
Well, that's an answer, right? I mean, that's an answer. You've gotten answers about.
That's an answer of how she died. Yeah, and we know.
That's not vaccine. Vaccine doesn't cause that. You see my point?
I do. I just don't like getting laughed at and being
Listen,
embarrassed.
it's not. It's these guys are frustrated. The audience is frustrated. That's what they're not.
We are frustrated too because we've been accused of something that we didn't do for 4 years.
Not saying that you did anything wrong, not saying you did anything wrong. What I'm telling you is that you're having experts tell you what could and could not have been the cause of death here. You know, Dr. Weck doesn't know you. He doesn't know you. He's opined in no way that you two are guilty of any wrongdoing, nor have I. They have. I have not. You've had an opportunity to answer that. What he's telling you is, I don't know who did what, but I can tell you why this girl died.
I know. And I'm saying I just don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say.
Dr. Weck, can I ask you one more question, please?
Yes, certainly.
How, with the type of hemorrhage that you were talking about with Kira, for example, how much time would typically go by before there would be a problem that would lead to her losing consciousness and dying? Was this something that would take a day or a week or an hour? How long?
Now, this would evolve over a period of several minutes into an hour or two. She would have then died within a period of few to several hours.
So what Dr. Weck is saying here is that this happened within a matter of hours before you were unable to arouse her.
So where was everyone 2-3 hours before? Is what
In
I'm
bed.
wondering. Everybody
Sleeping.
was in bed.
Yes.
Okay.
This doesn't add up, does
Because
it?
he's saying, Dr. Weck is saying something happened in the few hours leading up.
And we're saying it
this.
didn't. So, I don't. We're telling you the truth.
I would offer to bring you a world-class polygraph operator to allow you to put this to bed with life. Have the police ever offered you an opportunity to take a polygraph?
Yeah.
They did at first, yeah.
Did they offer you opportunity to take a polygraph?
Yeah.
And you both declined?
Yeah, because it.
Wonder why.
No.
Why?
And I understand you felt like they were hostile at that
Yeah,
point.
they were very hostile from the very get-go.
You don't think I'm
immediately.
hostile, do you?
No, not one bit.
Because I would offer to bring you a world-class polygraph operator to allow you to put this to bed forevermore if you would
I
like.
have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, would you like to take a polygraph?
It scares the crap out of me, but I have nothing to hide.
Would you like to take a polygraph?
No.
Nah.
No,
Yeah, I
because
will.
it's, you know what?
Tommy
I'll
will.
take one.
I'll take one.
Well, this is Jack Tremarco right here. Jack Tremarco is a former FBI special agent and polygraph examiner. Jack, let me ask you quickly, the first thing police do is want to clear the parents, right? Get them out and do a polygraph with them straight up. True?
The FBI policy, Dr. Phil, in any missing child case, we always request the parents, the last person to have been with the child, and the person who reports the disappearance to the police to take a polygraph test to eliminate themselves from suspicion.
Right. And what's the typical response if a parent is under suspicion or wants to eliminate suspicion? How often do the parents agree to take it or not take it?
In my experience, I never had anyone say no.
You've never had anyone say no?
No, when you explain to parents that this is an investigative team and we want them to be part of that team, it's valuable to have the parents involved. But before we involve them in our investigative secrets, if you will, we've got to be sure that they didn't cause the death of the child. And so we polygraph them to eliminate them from suspicion or for investigative focus.
I am offering this to you, and I can't make you take it or not take it. I'm just offering you the opportunity.
I just don't feel comfortable someone hooking me up to say, look at me in the eyes and know that I'm telling you the truth.
Truth, and Julia.
You decline as well. I want to take a moment to remember the two precious children that we have been talking about, Darby and Kira.
Darby was just so energetic and loved to be played with. He was just learning how to talk. He always called me Hi Dada. He definitely was a daddy's boy.
Darby had this old soul about him. He was like wise beyond belief.
He was so bright-eyed, he looked just like me. I want people to know that the world is missing out on an amazing man that Darby would have grew up to be.
I miss him so much. I miss that little voice. Kira, if you asked her, she wouldn't say her name was Kira. She said Princess Kiki is her name. And she was a princess.
This world is just a lesser place without her. She was just so beautiful. She represented everything that's beautiful in this world.
I need your help. I really do.
Don't tell yourself things that aren't true.
There's no going back, Dr. Phil.
Closed captioning provided by... I'd like to thank all of my guests today, and a very special thanks to Dr. Sarah Wecht and polygraph examiner Jack Tremarco. Also want to thank our medical team at Doctor On Demand for assisting in the preparation of this show and in talking to us about vaccination and SIDS, and I hope that was helpful to all of you at home. And if you at home want to have your own Doctor On Demand, which is an app that Jay and I have created, you can go to Google Play or the App Store and download it. We'll see you next time. Thank you. After the taping, I met with Julia alone to get her thoughts on the information revealed during the show. You need to figure out what's going on here.
Oh, I'm mixed up right now, Doctor.
Somebody hit this child in the head.
And I'm telling you that Cody and I did not hit this child in the head. I don't understand.
And the broken ribs on Darby were already healing.
That doesn't make sense. I don't get it, Doctor. I need your help. I really do.
Don't tell yourself things that aren't true. I've offered both of you an opportunity to take a polygraph. I got a world-class pediatrician that's expert in vaccinations involved. I got Sarah Wecht, the top pathologist, involved because I wanted you to have some answers. But now you're saying I don't want any more answers. I want to go back and continue to
I can't. How do
pretend,
I go back? How do I go back after this? I thought it was going to be completely different. I thought. I mean, I can't. Cody can't even go to work now. We can't even. No. There's no going back, Dr. Phil.
So, do you want to take the polygraph or do you not?
I do.
Okay, will you take it?
I will.
Will you tell Cody you want him to take it?
I'm gonna talk to him. Yes.
Well, I suspect. Here's what I suspect is going to happen. You've said you'll take the polygraph, that you will encourage him to take it. I suspect that they're going to do everything they can to talk you out of that. And we'll see. You'll either take it or you won't. And he'll either take it or he won't. Just as I predicted, when I left Julia, her husband Cody convinced her that taking a polygraph was a bad idea.
We didn't come on here to be on trial. We came in here to talk about harassment. I never even got to really finish a sentence.
There was not an autopsy done on Kira.
They can review that autopsy as much as they
Yeah.
want, but it's false autopsy.
Yeah.
It is not a real autopsy.
And
it was
I-
copied
you
and
can't-
pasted
I
and
mean,
put together
how many-
by who knows how many different autopsies.
And
Not
how
had
about
that.
bringing on a
Nothing.
doctor that's not pro-vaccinations like she
Yeah.
was? How about the
We're
doctors
not
who told
making
us?
excuses for their accusations.
No.
We're not coming up with
No,
This is
what
we
we've
have
been told. There's
Credit-
two sides to every story, and one side got told today.
Yeah,
and
and
we were
the
told that it was our turn.
information-
We were quiet for 3.5 years to tell our story. I didn't even get to finish a sentence out there. People laughing and clapping at us out there, and we're talking about babies here. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What kind of is this?
Yeah, it's
This
fine.
ain't Hollywood. This is a real story.
Kira's body needs to be exhumed in order to prove that she did not have an autopsy.
Yeah.
Because you need to prove that that autopsy is
Baloney,
false.
yeah.
It's baloney.
Yeah.
It is not real.
If the body was exhumed and it proved that there was an autopsy, would you two be willing to take a lie detector test?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to prove our innocence, but we know it's not going to take hooking up and asking us about whether we're lying or not. That is not going to help anything. Proving that there was no autopsy done is going to open up the big case, the real story of why we're here, and it's going to put to silence all the harassment. People always say, well, there's 2 children here. Don't you want to help them? Yes. Yes, we did from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But from the very beginning, we have had people coming up and telling us that we are wrong. And when you are told that you're wrong so much,
From
you
the very
stop
beginning.
talking.
If Cody and Julia have nothing to hide, then why decline a polygraph? I do believe that Julia and Cody are guilty. I want them to go to prison for the rest of their lives. I love Kira, I love Darby, and I'll never forget them. They're in my heart every day.